Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, we're going to be talking about Antifa today and about what is going on, what Trump is doing, and where this is all coming from. There's a few things that people need to know because obviously people don't know a lot about that Antifa. There's people going out and saying, no, Antifa is just an idea, but it's not an idea. This is international. This is everywhere. This is something that is foreseeing everywhere, and people need to understand what it is. So what we have here is this. We have this here from the Bureau saying Discord chat platform scrutinized and Kirk assassination used by Canadian leftist networks to circulate political target files, lawyer says. Discord, the communication platform now under scrutiny as U.S. investigators examine the chat room messages involving the alleged assassin of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, is also being used by left-wing Antifa aligned networks in Canada to organize and share dossiers on political targets, according to Toronto lawyer and independent journalist Karim Assad. In a wide-range interview for the Bureau's podcast, who has covered a proliferation of street protests in Canada, alleged that that Antifa-aligned networks rely on gated Discord servers to coordinate harassment campaigns and dox-style targeting of foes. Even more alarming, she said, is that some of the information shared would not be publicly available, suggesting that government, legal, or union insiders may have leveraged sensitive data. What makes her claims especially relevant in the current climate is her belief that Canadian Anti-Hate Network, a federally funded non-governmental organization, has been involved in what she perceives as Antifa's targeting activity in Canada. Because of Canada's Liberal government has directed nearly $1 million to CHAN, and because the group liaises with public safety agencies to disseminate its perception of extremist threats, argues that this has skewed the state's focus, overlooking the growing threat of violence from Antifa. Saad says that both she and some of her clients have been singled out, and she describes Antifa as a loosely aggregated cell-like organization that transcends the U.S.-Canada border, operating simultaneously in online forums and in street collectives. These protests, she says, often coalesce under a solidarity banner that brings together activists for trans rights, indigenous rights, migrant rights, encampment movements, safe supply campaigns, and pro-Palestine demonstrations. If we think of Antifa as a movement, it's not, at least to my opposition, like, here's your card. You're now a card-carrying member, and please pay your dues. Sad explaining, it's more like a cell structure, and there is both an online and a real-world component. It's organized regionally, but particularly the online aspect can be national and international. And Discord plays a huge part in this because it allows people to connect online in private servers. So I did not provide details of her investigations into alleged targeting dossiers shared on Discord, but she suggested her research grew out of her own experience of being targeted. The compelling information on political targets could include social media handles, involvement in court cases, where they live, who their family is, what their connections are, and where they appear in public life. According to Saad, Anti-Hate had first approached her to collaborate on some research publications that never panned out. We couldn't agree to terms on that was fine, and a few months after that, I was subject of an article that framed me as a fascist sympathizer, and it's only gotten worse since then. Public records show that Canada received a total of $908,000 in federal funding across 3 agreements since 2020. $278,000 under Canadian Heritage's Anti-Racism Action Program, and $450,000 under a Canadian Heritage Community Support, Multiculturalism, and Anti-Racism Initiatives Program, and $200,000 from Public Safety Canada's Community Resilience Fund for a 2-year project running from April 2024 to March 2026. Sad said this funding is problematic because, in her view, Khan takes public money to put targets on private citizens. How I came to be interested in particularly in Antifa is the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, she said. It's an NGO that purports to document and fight against specifically far-right hate. And having such a narrow focus, I think that has created almost a vacuum that has allowed the far left to metastasize. She pointed to an Ontario court ruling that found Khan had assisted the Antifa movement. In the court case cited, the judge accepted evidence that Khan did in fact assist Antifa and acknowledged the movement's violent record. Khan, for its part, denied supporting violence directly or indirectly or funding violent Antifa. Saad said she is concerned that the government's funding of Khan has contributed to a skewed perspective among Canadian public safety officials. So, that's what we have here. This is massive. This means that if this is all true and this comes to light, this means that Canada has been funding a terrorist organization that is within our own country, and now and which means Canada is funding assassinations and terrorist threats within our own country. So that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem for Canada. That can make easily Canada an enemy to the United States. This is not a joke anymore. This is now putting other countries in the limelight of being actual enemies to the United States now that Antifa is being labeled as a terrorist organization. Now, what we have here is this. Trump designates Antifa a major terrorist organization, what we know. So we have this here where President Trump has identified Antifa as a major terrorist organization and said anyone funding the movement would be investigated, prompting a terrorism analyst to warn that Trump is setting the stage to designate any American as a terrorist. So we have this here from Donald Trump, pretty much saying this. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is massive. So this is crazy. So this is probably going to incite a lot of other bigger issues worldwide, not just in the United States here. This has gone global now, guys. This has gone global because this means if this is all true, if Canada is actively doing this type of thing, then that also means that Canada is in line with this, that Canada is putting terrorist people onto the U.S. Government here. And what we have here, now we have idiots here that are doing this type of deal. So Ed Krasenstein says, I'm starting a new organization. It's called Anti-Fash. It means anti-fascist. We call out fascism when we see it, who wants to join. And we have this here where Ed Krasenstein is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Because I said here, you do realize that you're using a salute, which that red fist is an indicator called the red salute, which was used by Nazis, even being used by the CCP, China today. So what you're saying is you're a communist, including you being exactly like Hitler. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an actual idiot. And this is true. The Chinese Communist Party does use the red salute, also known as the raised fist or unclenched fist gesture, particularly in formal contexts like oaths of allegiance, pledges of loyalty, and party ceremonies. This practice has historical roots in communist symbolism and was prominently featured during the Cultural Revolution, where red guards and other employed is a sign of revolutionary fervor and solidarity. In modern times, under leaders like Xi Jinping, it remains a symbol during events such as the CCP's centennial celebrations and routine inductions, often impaired with verbal oaths while holding up the party banner. It's distinct from the standard military hand salute used in the People's Liberation Army, but serves as a priority salute for ideological and ceremonial purposes within the CCP. Even further, the red salute, also known as a raised fist or clenched fist salute, is a gesture historically used by communists to symbolize solidarity, resistance, and proletarian unity. It involves raising a clenched fist, typically the right one or the left, for certain factions like Trotsky's. Often during rallies, anthems like I can't see this, or as a greeting among comrades, and the red salute. So what we say here is Ed Krasenstein is a communist and is a fascist, and he doesn't even know what this even symbolizes or what this means. These people are idiots, and they're calling themselves out red-handed. This means that the FBI and Donald Trump should immediately investigate this guy, because this guy is actively saying that he's part of the anti-fascist movement. This is a huge issue. And we have this here from Andy No saying, for the liars who say there's no way to join Antifa, show them these screenshots from Portland's Rose City Antifa. It says rosecityantifa.org. This is an actual website, or a group closed to members only. But if you're interested in joining, please send us an email with a little bit of information about you and what makes you interested in joining. It goes on to say here, if someone in block tells you that they're from Rose City Antifa but doesn't offer you a way to confirm it, either by emailing us or referring you to somebody who can reliably verify your identity, then it's safe to assume you didn't just meet somebody from Rose City Antifa. He further goes on to explain that Antifa internationally detailing how to join Antifa and Antifa cell, or to start your own with other like-minded or conspirators. They recommend joining the Torch Antifa network in the U.S. So it says here, looking to join your Antifa local Antifa. Over the last 24 hours, we've received no fewer than a dozen requests for contact information for local Antifa groups all over Europe and the U.S. This is fantastic. If you're one of the people who wants to hook up with your local Antifa, here are some things to know. Goes on to say here, we are in contact with every Antifa crew in the world. Yet, in a lot of ways, Antifa are more organized than ever before, and we're seeing cross-border collaboration with projects like this, Tumblr, the International Anti-Fascist Defense Fund, the International Day of Solidarity with the Anti-Fascist Prisoners, etc. So while we are building towards the day when we'll know every Antifa crew everywhere, we might not know of an active one in your area. Continues. There might be an active Antifa networks where you are right now. If you're in the US, you should check with the Torch Antifa network. If you're in the UK, you should check with the Anti-Fascist network. If you're in France, you should check with La Horde. If you're in Sweden, you should check with Anti-Fascist Anti-Action Sweden. So, yeah, this is huge. Like, if you've done all that and can't find a local Antifa crew to connect with, it might be time to start your own. We've written some tips about starting an Antifa crew, some thoughts on what kind of things your crew could be doing. The Anti-Fascist Network has also published a guide to setting up an Antifa group, as well as a list of useful resources for Antifa. Also, here's our list of 30 Antifa actions that pretty much anyone could pull off with the help of a few friends. So, yes, this is an actual group. It's not an idea. It's an actual group. You're lying here, and this is what the left is trying to say. They're trying to say that, oh, it's an idea. It's not really, you can't attack an idea. You can't arrest people for an idea. Well, wrong. Because as we see here, there's ample evidence of there being Antifa groups, people letting people sign up for them or create their own cell, create their own units. And you also have people like Krasny here that doesn't understand what the meaning of the fist means, the red fist, which means the red salute, and it's anti-fascist and related and communist. These people are morons, and Krasny should be investigated and arrested because he's trying to create another cell that is part of this. This is insane here. It's insane. And as I said before, Canada may be involved, and if it is, this is going to be a way bigger issue than people realize. And we're going to put in one more thing here. So we have this here where Andy No has gone out and pretty much said this. The Antifa cell in Corvallis Or has published an after-action report on the fallout from Charlie Kirk's assassination. They admit fearing the loss of their ability to make conservatives for death with no pushback, especially as some political institutions, groups, and businesses now feel safer expressing sympathy to Kirk's family and supporters. They also concede that attacks on Shellfish Christian worship events have been a PR disaster, with cameras showing mass Antifa militants assaulting families and children at those events. To counter a possible cultural shift away from their dehumanization tactics that are mainstream on the left, Antifa suggests exploiting divisions on the right to divide and conquer. They suggest using Israel as a wedge to issue. They say here, anti-fascists have attempted to counter several of these rallies in Portland and Seattle, but these counters have been unequivocal, optical, and tactical failures. This is particularly relevant as many political businesses and institutions, including UO itself, have expressed public sympathy to Kirk and his cause. They said, as judge, anti-fascists must work to find more creative ways to counter this political movement. One possible useful way using this issue in this context is Israel. So, yeah, you can see that here. So, this is not good, right? So, they are probably most likely the ones that have committed this and allowed this, and they're outright saying, yeah, we did this, we were part of the ones that pushed this type of stuff, and they're now terrifying because everybody's going against them because of cultural shifting and nobody's dealing with it. It's been a horrible failure for them, and now that they've been labeled as a terrorist organization, it's got even worse for them. So things are not looking good for Antifa, but this thing could be a lot bigger than we realize, as this could go worldwide. We'll see what happens in the coming days to weeks. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
This ain't the America that all our parents love, but good men try to keep making it great. Pray that God will take care of us. The system is failing us when good men die for the things that they